Hi, my name is Dina Marie Rodriguez, and this is Women of Illustration, a brand new talk show that I'm kind of creating to help feature new, budding female illustrators all over the world so that way we all can be heard, make art, and get paid. This is episode 8. Oh my god, it's been 8 episodes. We went ahead and we started off a brand new epic journey. This entire series is all based around education. I get a lot of questions about how do I get started in illustration? What's the best way to learn? Do I do online tutorials? Do I have to go to art school? Do I just jump right headfirst into the workforce? And that's what this series is all about. So last week we kind of covered all our bases and just what are the best ways to learn illustration online. So if you missed that episode, definitely go back in time and watch it. This episode, however, is all about art school. Art school, is art school the way? Is art school for everyone? What are the pros and cons of going to art school? Is art school worth your time and money? Are you ready to be in debt for probably the next 20 years of your life? We are back with an amazing concept artist, illustrator based out of Costa Rica. Her name is Angi Polly. She is adorable. Her accent is even cuter. Her work is amazing, and I'm so excited to show you everything this girl's got to offer, and more importantly, the advice and little gold nuggets of wisdom she has when it comes to what is the best way to learn illustration in the first place. Stay tuned after the interview for some really cool updates and shout outs. All right, guys, fade to pink. This episode is all about art school, the pros and cons of art school, whether or not we even need to go to art school in the first place. Me and Angi both went to art school, and we have our own opinions about that, and we're going to share them with you. So I'm back with Angi Polly! It's going to be amazing. I'm so excited. So Angi, tell me about the art school you went to, and what was your just general experience going there?
Okay, so I went to what was at the time the only animation in, let's say, concept art school in Central America. It's called Universidad Veritas de Arte y Diseño y Arquitectura, which is an architecture and design school, basically.
So many words, okay.
And we were the guinea pigs. I think I was the third generation. It was pretty new. I got in 2007. I feel so old.
That's
and
okay.
Well, it was a very weird experience because my teachers really didn't know what they were doing, and I ended up learning more from the library. Yeah. Sorry, it's because in Spanish, librería is where you buy art supplies. And biblioteca is library.
Yeah, I was like biblioteca?
Mindfuck.
I know that word. That's funny. It's like, you learned more in the library than you did from your teachers. That's hilarious to me. I mean, I guess there's like more people, there's more authors, right? There's more people to teach you in the library. But, well, okay. Doesn't say much for your school, but all right.
I think it hasn't changed anything now, and I went to 3 headmasters. It was a mess, and the environment was horrible. I hated it.
It was poo horrible.
And poo horrible.
So what was like the worst part of it? Like, what made it so poo?
Number one worst part of it was the attitude of many of the teachers. Like, some of them, I had a super talented teacher, and he came to class late all the time. And he taught some stuff, but I always hated this attitude when professors are late because they think time is more important. Like, I really dislike that. And there was a lot of racism.
What?
Heavy, and a lot of I won't even go into the stories because there's so many, but and it was mostly guys, and many of them picked fights on me. And it drove me into a spiral of into a bad emotional spiral, downward spiral. That's how you call it.
Yeah.
And on top of that, the workload was immense. It was not measured well, and I had to work in order to pay some of my school. So I remember I failed a course once because I did all the assignments and I did well, but I was late every day to the class because it was at 8 a.m. And I was like, okay, if I didn't deliver the assignments and stuff and I was late, but you know that I have two jobs because I had two jobs at the time and four classes, maybe you could like just give me some extra work and I'll make up for the points or something. And like there was like, oh my god, it was an emotional roller coaster. But overall, there was just like two or maybe two, yeah, two good teachers, and the rest was, I can't say I learned that much. Like my best teacher was a guy from Colombia. He was an architect, and he taught us completely abstract conceptual art and gave us some really dense text. And he was really demanding, but I learned a lot of design from that. And from then on, I didn't learn anything. I think I was just like, I had a teacher that gave us DVDs the whole semester.
Oh my god. What? That is
He
like
was
some
like,
substitute t-shirt bullshit.
yeah, he was like, yeah, just do this DVD thing, and yeah, that's the course. And if you didn't do like the exact models on the DVD, you would be flunked, and then go to extension, which meant that the miserable 2 weeks between each term, because you only have like 2 weeks of holidays between each one in the private university, you would spend them working there and get a minimum grade. So because of this, my like I had a super high, how do you call it, like really high, but because I had to go to that extension, like it automatically would like go to the minimum to pass. So it was just a shit school, and all they wanted to do was make money. And I almost didn't graduate because I was this close to quitting like 10 times when I was doing my graduation project. It was horrible, and I did my graduation project alone. My tutor didn't help me at all. It was just one. The girl who helped me write the thing, um, she helped me a lot, but the guy on the art part, he didn't help me whatsoever.
So let me recap what you
So,
just said. So you went to art school. You learned more from the library than you did your teachers. You had one teacher just teach you through DVDs. You were
yep,
bullied.
yep,
It was
yeah,
incredibly racist and sexist. You were constantly being picked on by all the men in your class.
yes.
It was justifiably unfair to you, and was just a pretty horrible experience. And it was poop. That is so sad. And the fact that you spend
Yeah.
how much money?
It's not as expensive, but it was expensive for me.
I think a
I
dollar is too
paid.
expensive for what you just told me. So,
I think I paid about $3,000 for each 4 months, depended on the amount of classes. But each class was between $300 and $500.
so what is like
But
what's like a guest total? Because how long did you go to that school? Did you go until you got an associate's or a bachelor's, or did you just peace out because it sucks so much?
I got a bachelor's. I'm gonna pull out my calculator because I cannot do this mentally.
See, I can
Um,
easily tell you it's like I spent $100,000 on my
it
education.
was not that much, but I did spend tons of money in materials and not in food, but
Well, yeah,
because I
there's
didn't
like
have
living
money.
expenses, and then there's all the art supplies that aren't normally included in the majority of schools.
Yeah, there was a moment where I was so poor that I had what I had for dinner was like the tomato sauce packets that the other kids left in the tables after they had takeout.
Oh my god. I mean, I thought I was like poor, just eating, getting
No,
really
I was
creative
super
with
poor.
ramen and Prego. But yeah, tomato sauce packets. That sounds way worse. That's
So I
crazy.
spent $72,000, something like that.
72,000? Is that what you
Yeah,
said?
something like that.
That's still a lot of money for what you just described to me. And so, okay, did the school at least help you figure out what you didn't want to do? Because sometimes that's like the
No.
most valuable. No, that
No.
sucks. Wow.
I
I'm
think
sorry.
what the value of this school was that I got the occasional odd job, and I made a really good friend, which whom I love so much. My friend Marie, and that's about it because everybody else from that pretty much sucked.
Yeah, I think I
Yeah.
mostly hear horror stories when it comes to art schools, and I actually got scammed from an art school. Um, So
What? That sucks.
when I So after I graduated high school, the first school I went to was the Art Institute of Fort Lauderdale for animation. Long story short, didn't want to study animation, wanted to study illustration. My dad essentially chose my degree because he was paying for it. We have talked about how sexist and rude that was. Now as an adult, he apologized. I did not graduate because I hated the school so much. I didn't want to study animation, so I saved like all my animation courses for the end, and I just couldn't pass the 3D classes, like no matter what I did. 2D animation, awesome. All of the fine art courses, color, life drawing, all the stuff, and it was an okay experience. But it turns out that the Art Institute was scamming students, and there's actually a very large lawsuit going on right now because they would charge you money for courses, either with a private loan company that was actually like not a real company, that would just give you like crazy interest rates, like 40%, that weren't actually necessary, just trying to rob students. And even when years later, after my mom graciously paid a big chunk of my debt because my dad ended up not being able to find a job, and she had co-signed the loan for me for that school. I get a phone call. She paid it off. She goes, "Hey, how much does it cost?" Cool, pays it. A week later, she gets a call saying, "Oh no, you actually owe an extra $10,000." And she's like, "What are you talking about? Like I just paid it for everything. Where did this?" She's like, "Oh well, we just found it." What do you mean you just found it? Isn't everything in a computer? Like what do you? It's like a piece of paper you found that like fell underneath a desk. She's like, "Well, you're gonna have to pay it." So, like, they knew that she had money, right? Because her dad had just died, so she had inherited. So they were trying to get more money from her. And it come to find out that money was just all bullshit. They just wanted to steal from us. So, fuck you, Art Institute. You're a heaping pile of garbage. No one should ever go to you. And I think it's going to be impossible for the Art Institute to get anyone's trust back. Because I don't think it was just
Fort Lauderdale. I hope nobody tried. I
think it must have been a scam that had been going on for a long time. And with that aside, because obviously the money thing is important, but the experience was okay. Like in both my situations, it was like the first year that the program had expanded, and they like were still trying to figure out their curriculum. I didn't really connect a lot with the material. I felt like it was kind of like art class in school. Like, oh, here's an assignment to help you learn perspective, right? Now we want you to do a relief sculpture, and we do this. And I get a lot of that stuff, but I thought it was going to be more about how to find my voice, how to find my style through those things, instead of giving everyone the same blanket assignment. You know what I mean? I thought that was very strange. Yeah, like everyone has the project where you have to make a mosaic, or you have to make an entire portrait out of words or something like that. Like those are the cliche common student projects you see. I think the game really changed, and I'm so glad that on a whim it happened. Ended up going to Full Sail University in Orlando, and that school was the tits. Like, huge fan of the Full Sail. I would love to teach lettering at the school. It was hardcore. You go to class 6 days a week, 8 hours a day. You have 4 hours of lecture, 4 hours of lab. If you miss a day of class, you fail. It was intense. Like, it was called Real World Education, and I got there the year it got accredited, and the year they started the Digital Arts and Design program. And it was such a good experience because I learned everything. I learned print design, web design, icon design, motion graphics, film editing, 3D animation, all the different things. So I could really figure out and hone in, well, which one of these things do I want to specialize in? And also, going into the job market, it's always nice. Everybody wants a jack of all trades designer when you first start out. And I was the definition of a jack of all trades, since I knew literally all of the Adobe suite, like every single program, and then eventually decided to specialize in illustration. But it was such a good foundation, not only for my education, like learning like the programs, but more so my work ethic. Because by the time I graduated, I had worked so hard at that school. Every job was like easy as fuck for me. It was like, this is nothing. Like, what do you mean I only work 4 hours? I don't understand. It was just like, I don't know. And like my first job was Disney. So it was just like getting out of college and having like a pretty hardcore corporate job. And my corporate job was nothing compared to my education. So I felt like very prepared. And it was that school that helped me get that opportunity. It was
That's
like a
amazing.
yeah, so it was just such a good experience. But
I
that
wish I wish it was all like that for
yeah.
everyone.
So I
It
think
sounds really
when
cool.
you are choosing an art school, you really have to do your research, not into just the website and the documentation that that school presents to you, but like now that we have the internet, go ahead and look at reviews. When you do visit the school, talk to the students. Is this worth my money? Because so many of us can't afford school and we have to get loans out and pay for it ourselves. So when
Exactly.
it's coming out of our own pocket, you think you would do more research when spending like a six figures. So I think art school can be an amazing experience, and as we've learned, it can be not such an amazing experience. But we really need to like weigh the pros and cons, really, of everything to see what makes the most sense. So you going to art school, what like even though it wasn't the best experience, what do you think is like maybe the most valuable lesson that you took from it?
I think hard work because, well, I'm gonna be honest. I was in a high school that was famous to being pretty tough, so I was used to studying a lot, and um, I just knew that going to university was not going to be easy. But it was a real challenge. Like I had to juggle things and just settle for done and not perfect, which I forgot later on. But um, I would say that like the hard work and something that I like and don't like growing a thick skin in a way, emotionally, because not everybody's nice at work. And yeah, a couple of friendships, like people who are like minded, and I just got like the human experience, because when you're a kid out of high school, many of us don't really know about like how to treat other people. Most of us, like for me for example, I was with my classmates my whole life, like since kindergarten.
Oh
So
wow,
yeah,
that's crazy.
yeah, and it will be real world experience and hard work. And I think hard work is always something that's good to learn, and it depends totally on you. But I took it seriously, so that would be it.
Yeah. I always got really mad at the students that I felt didn't take it seriously. Like you could definitely
Yeah,
tell the difference
me too.
between someone whose parents are paying their way through college and someone who has to pay for it themselves, or even someone like you could just tell the poor from the rich very easily, because there are situations where the parents are paying for it and they're going through hardship because they're trying to pay for that student's education. And you could they show up early to class, they stay late, they go above and beyond, they are an overachiever with all of their projects, and you could tell that they are like actually listening to you. Like when I was a teacher not too long ago, students would legitimately fall asleep, like, and with like there's seven of them, there's seven students, like
Oh,
you can't hide the fact that you're sleeping in my class and like snoring. And I'd have
well,
to
don't
like
get
a
mad at me
couple
when I fall
times
asleep.
like have a student nudge them because I'm always afraid to touch students. It's like no 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 no. It's like can you shake that person awake so they can listen to this class that they're paying gobs and gobs of money to be here for. Um,
Yeah,
so I think it's something you definitely need to prepare yourself. And I think art education, just how it is in the real world, is you get what you make of it. You know what I mean?
exactly.
If you do the bare minimum to just pass and don't expect for job offers to be rolling on in, we no longer live in a society where college is your gateway into getting paid anymore. Like so many
It
people
is.
not only are in debt from school but still can't find a job because they didn't utilize all of the things that were included with your education, because there's not only the time sitting in class to learn from the teacher, there's networking, which is a huge part, because you never know
Yeah.
where those people might end up 5 or 10 years from now. I can't tell you how many emails I've gotten from my classmates from Full Sail since I'm more, I would say, known than they are, because I went more of a freelance route versus a day job route.
Yeah.
And it can be really really helpful. So do you think that, like, if someone really wants to go to art school, what do you think are the reasons that they should go to art school?
You should
Knowing,
go to art school because you. Sorry.
no, I was just saying, like, knowing everything that we've just talked about. I was just like making the
Mm,
question more complicated.
yeah. Um, I think the right reason to go to art school is because you want to learn from others in that specific environment. But it is not necessary, And if you work hard enough, you will get to that situation eventually. If you work on the right path, like focusing is really important. I'll tell you a short story about. I have a friend. His name is Johnny Hall.
It's a cool name.
And he's from Canada, and he didn't even finish high school, I think. And he had like a wild youth part, and he got like non-art jobs. Like he told me he was a bouncer at a club once because he's really really tall, and he just drew in his spare time and drew and drew and drew and painted and painted. And he's amazing now, and he's super young. I think he's like 25, and he's really amazing. And I was like, "You didn't go to art school?" And he was like, "No." And I was like, "Jesus Christ! Wow." That's amazing. You're like, that's really good. So you don't really need it. He worked himself to that point, and he reached out to people and eventually met people by posting his work online because they were like, "Wow, your work's really good." And he started conversations, and he worked there. It was not like he was born painting beautiful stuff and drawing amazing.
Of course, yeah.
So you can still do that. Like if you want to go to art school and you want to have like the college experience, like I don't know, I see this a lot in American movies. Like I want to have the college experience. You can have that, but I think that's. I am so sorry if you want this, but this is my opinion. That's glorified bullshit.
Oh, for sure. And also, art school is nothing like
Yeah.
a state school, like that they would show in like any popularized American teenage movie. Like it's not like that
Exactly.
at all.
Yeah, you shouldn't do that. Like, just focus on the right stuff. If you're in your early 20s, for Christ's sakes, don't go on like crazy drinking weeks. Just like use your time for art. If you want to be an artist and be a successful freelancer or working out or whatever, you have to put in the work. And how fast you get that work is going to be probably proportional to like that amount time you spent earlier on. And hey, maybe you can even retire early. Imagine how cool would that be instead of like spending your 20s partying like an idiot.
Yeah, I know 3 people who are retired designers and they're 40. And they like they went ahead, you know, they went to art school, they got the most out of their education, they, you know, got a couple day jobs, and then they did their own thing, and then they had an agency, and then they sold the agency, and then now they get a salary from how selling the rights to that agency for the rest of their lives, so they're just retired. Like, smart. I know that's like a common theme. I'm not saying like that's, you know, I'm sure not everyone can do that, but it's really like your worth ethic gets instilled in you at a very, very early age, and it's really hard for that work ethic, I think, to come through in high school, just because obviously you have so many other priorities than just art, but college is there for you to focus your time on that one thing. So I have a couple of pros and cons here for whether or not art school is a good reason for you to go. So some of the pros are you get dedicated time to focus on your passion. Right?
Oh, that's a really true one. Yeah.
Yeah, like for the most part, some of us don't have jobs when we go to school, and it like our job is school. Just like that same mentality from high school. If you're able to, you know, like I had living expenses that was included in my loan, so I didn't have to work. And also, it's fucking impossible to work at Full Sail, like unless you were part time or something, because you're not going to work 8 hours in school and then there's no way. Like, I had school until 1 a.m, and then the next day I'd have to be at school at 8 a.m. Like, when am I supposed to sleep, let alone have another job?
Same. That's why I was late.
Right? So it's like, another thing is you have tons of networking opportunities for other students and faculty to add to your corner. Because it's not just the other students, the faculty, like, I can tell you, like, 10 years from now, the 3 students that are probably going to be the most memorable from the classes I taught, and at any point in their careers, if they ever need a referral, or if I see a client that might need their style, I'm going to go out of my way to help those students because they were truly passionate about what they did. And every other teacher, I would assume, would have a pretty similar thing. And also, by the way, newsflash, art teachers do not make a lot of money. Even college teachers don't make a lot of money. We're not in it for the money. It definitely has to be something that you're passionate about because you want to give back to the community that you live in. So
exactly,
that's why you see a lot of teachers either really give a shit or just no shit at all. Another thing that's really cool is you can make friends that are just like you. Like, there's no other time where you're going to be Like when you're an adult and you're a freelancer or you have a day job, it's so much harder to make friends because you're not surrounded by exactly your demographic all the time. People who are your same age, people who are into the same things as you. So because it can be really lonely being an artist, but when you're surrounded, I would say, like with your own kind, it becomes a lot easier. And that's what we were saying in last episode, why you should like become, I think you need a partner. Like you need to be able to talk to people either online or in real life just so that you don't feel so lonely. And that can be really hard organically to create on your own, but if you have art school, that's a great thing to lean on. There's also
exactly.
and there's like a great opportunity, like what you said, to try lots of different things to find your thing. Especially if you go to an art school that obviously has different minors and majors. Like at the school I taught, they had like photography and fine art and animation and concept art, and painting was its own major, and digital arts and all these different things. So they have all the equipment there for you to play with. Even though that might be outside of your major, you could still audit classes. Like you could still walk into a classroom. So there's a lot of good things. So are there any pros that I'm not thinking of?
I think those are the big ones. I would say like the other pro could be like usually universities and colleges have big libraries that you can access for free. So because you're already paying, but you have that, and also if you are fortunate enough to find a good teacher, then you have somebody you can go ask questions, I guess. Well, I don't know. I always went and asked extra questions if I had any. And that is maybe a little bit easier than messaging your idols online because that's always like intimidating.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well.
But I would say those are very solid cons.
Very solid pros. But we'll get into the cons.
Pros. Sorry.
Yeah, those were all pretty pretty pro things. No, the cons. I think the biggest con is the money, the debt, the living expenses.
And the time.
Yeah. And I was saying like to her earlier before we started recording, like, can you imagine what I could have done with $100,000 if I didn't spend it at art school? Like if I would have taken a loan out and invested in like a personalized freelance coach or a bunch of online classes or I don't know, some sort of cool apprenticeship or internship program overseas or something, or just went traveling for a year with $100,000. You know what I mean?
Or you could go like to Puerto Rico and buy a small apartment and rent it, and then passive income, boom.
Yeah, totally. Like I could, right? Like I could be a mogul of some kind. But you really have to think about whether it makes sense for you. Do you need that hands-on education, or could you easily just use the internet to learn from? And also another thing to keep in mind, something we touched on, is since you share the same classes with like a ton of other students, you could argue that you run the risk of having the same style as everyone else and having the same kind of projects in your portfolio, where you're supposed to be competing with each other, yet everyone has the exact same project in their portfolio. So it's like you're trying to stand out as an artist, but yet you end up looking exactly the same, especially if it's a very big, popular. So everyone's graduating at the same time or the same year or two. The curriculum hasn't changed probably in 5 years. So like all of those local agencies and job opportunities are going to keep seeing the same stuff. So what are you going to do? You're going to do extra stuff in order to stand out, which is pretty hard to do extra stuff on top of an entire workload of going to school.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite reasons why I think art school is a con is you run the risk of ruining your passion and running ragged before you even start your first job.
Oh my god. Yes.
Yeah, it's super common that art students, they get pretty busy. They don't get a lot of sleep. They go nonstop for like 2 or 4 years straight. They're broke, and it can easily make you want to quit. But on the other hand, maybe that's necessary. Maybe we need to be pushed to our limit to see if this is even going to work for us. Because if you think art school is hard, just wait until your livelihood's riding on it. So
yeah, it's true. Like, and I went on for I think 7 years because I couldn't take the whole blocks because I couldn't pay for it. Like, I couldn't pay for it and work, and I couldn't do the whole thing because I was too tired, and I was working in animation and illustration and stuff. So yeah, I think that's like a big con, and also like one of the biggest cons for me is that I'm a little bit romantic in this part. Like, we are all human. You cannot learn the same way that I learn. So maybe that system they have doesn't work for you, and it's completely fine. Like, for example, I'm sorry, Dina, I fall asleep instantly if it's not interesting to me. But instantly, like they used to take me to church, and I fell asleep all the time, like every single one. And I fell asleep so much in classes in university that the teachers didn't even care. I had a teacher that was quiet, so he would wake me up, and I don't know, but I would still do my assignments and like check on things and apologize. Like, I'm so sorry, I can't help it. Like, it's just like I'm so tired, I fell asleep. So I would argue that for me, for example, that system worked and didn't work. Like the challenge part worked for me, but like my brain is so active, I cannot explain to you. Like the first, like the other part that we did, like I have non-linear thinking completely most of the time, so I cannot be sitting down for super long periods of time. And if I have a test and somebody's clicking the pencil and they don't stop, I can guarantee you I will fail the test.
Oh man, not a good test taker. All right.
Yeah, like my concentration is like I have to have a very specific environment to be able to concentrate and everything. So maybe that doesn't work for you, and you can achieve the same things by not going to art school. So like if you're an artist, you don't need a degree. If you're a lawyer or a doctor or something, please get a degree. But the other stuff, I think it's completely unnecessary, and maybe it will result in more interesting art. Maybe it'll be shittier at first. Maybe it won't.
I think it won't be shittier. I think it'll only improve and it'll probably make the landscape much more competitive. That's for sure.
Exactly.
But to wrap up as like a final note, I think if you want to go to art school, please make sure you can afford it. Don't do anything that's really going to hurt you or your family, because you don't necessarily need it. If you're the kind of person that's a hard time learning on your own and you think you need the dedicated time to focus on it and someone telling you constant prompts and getting you ready for the workforce, then yeah, go for it. But really make sure that you choose the right place for you.
Yeah, and you can do that for a lot less than art school. There's a lot of good places online where you can have mentors with structured programs. You don't have to go to CalArts or those crazy, insane, super expensive places to study. You really don't need it. I would argue barely anybody needs this.
Yeah.
Honestly. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and with that being said, I am actually launching my own series of courses this year that are going to be like a college course. It's going to be 3 months long. I'm going to have a dedicated class on how to create more interesting lettering compositions. I'm going to have a dedicated class on how to successfully reach your first 10,000 followers on places like Instagram and Dribbble and Behance, all the visual platforms. And then another class that's going to be completely to help illustrators and artists market themselves online to a way where they can have a website that sells for them. So that way they can attract clients to their work versus them having to search for work themselves. So
that's amazing.
So with that, and I'm not going to be like $100,000. I'll tell you that. You know what I mean? Like, so there's definitely going to be more and more affordable options as the internet and artists keep tapping in to their skills and sharing it with the world. It's only going to get better from here.
True.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's a wrap. And we're going to follow up with Angie probably in a week or so. And then we'll be talking about all the ships, the apprenticeships, the internships, the mentorships, and how that could be another avenue for you to learn illustration that's not necessarily art school or the internet. Something that's right up your alley, that's right in the middle. It's the perfect temperature of porridge, and it's the perfect amount of money that you could probably afford, right? All right, guys. Yep. Thanks for everything. Please keep watching.
Thank you.
Bye. Yes, that was a good episode. I super enjoyed it. I hope this has helped answer a lot of your guys' questions about art school, the costs, the pros, the cool things, the not so cool things, and everything in between. Be sure to stick around for next week when we start to talk about all of the ships, the internships, the mentorships, the apprenticeships, so that way you can go ahead, just dip your freaking pinky toe into the workforce and just see what happens and actually get training on the job. Maybe that's something that you could do instead of, I don't know, paying thousands of dollars to learn something versus being paid to learn. I have very exciting news. Are you ready? I'm ready. Okay, let's do it. So you may have heard me in this episode and previous episodes allude to a new online course. crazy 3-month-long course, my first ever online course that's going to be featured on my own personal platform, lettershop.com. It's called Bullshit-Free Social Media Marketing for Artists. So in this social media course, we're going to cover a lot of ground. I'm going to be able to show you how to not only increase your numbers and your engagement, but also get people to really care about what you are working on, so that way you can help create what I like to call a sales funnel to your website. It's not enough just to post on Instagram. You got to get people to actually go to your site and give you money, whether that's hiring you for a really cool client project, or buying a product, or donating to you on Patreon. Also, there's going to be a lot of really cool assignments. You're going to be doing all these really cool prompted illustrations to not only fill up your feed with really engaging content, help you put some words and art on your website, so that way you can attract the exact kind of work you want to get more of. Most importantly, help you with your confidence, get you finding shortcuts and tips, so that way you can actually post every single day on social media without complete and total burnout. If you guys are interested and you want to sign up, you want to learn all the ins and outs of this upcoming course that I'm creating, and definitely have a chance to get early access, which means tickets on the cheap, sign up for my newsletter at lettershop.com/social media course. If you guys are digging this content, if you're liking all of the voices and advice and faces and work that are in front of your eyeballs right now, please consider subscribing or giving us just $1 of your support a month on patreon.com/women of illustration. Not only can you get early access to every single episode that comes out, but you also get exclusive VIP access to monthly live Q&As with every single one of our guests. We do have an amazing Instagram that we would love to feature your work in. All you have to do is use the hashtag Women of Illustration. My amazing volunteers will freaking dive in there, find some really cool content, so that way we can help promote you. Would you like that? But wait, there's more! We also just started a new amazing Women of Illustration mastermind group. We currently have half of it filled, so we actually have 5 spots left. $50 a month. You get to meet with me on a weekly basis to make sure that you're staying on task, you're getting critiques on your work, so that way you can improve your portfolio and actually attract those clients and those customers to your website, to help you figure out all of the crazy C's of onboarding with clients and trying to figure out your pricing and your value and how to post on social media. All of these things as an artist we have to deal with and figure out how the fuck to market ourselves. I would love to help you with that. Finally, remember when we were asking for volunteers? Well, we have all the spots filled, so thank you in advance for everyone who went ahead and applied, but I do have one spot left, and I need a writer. I need someone who wants to create original content on a bi-weekly basis, something like an 800-word article about feminism, art, events, creativity, freelance, all the things. If you're that person, please reach out. Email me at dina@womenofillustration.com. I would love to hear from you, and in exchange, you get free weekly coaching. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching this episode and listening to me talk for just a god-awful amount of time. You're a stellar human being, and I thank you for your love. See you guys later. Bye.